Today we're looking at a watch that's been turning heads in the collector's community, the Furlan Marri Castagna. At first glance, you might think it's a vintage Patek Philippe chronograph pulled straight from an auction catalog. But here's the key point, this is not a replica. Instead, it's a thoughtful modern reinterpretation inspired by the golden era of chronographs. In this episode, we'll take a deep dive into the Castagna, covering its history and inspiration, its design, the specs, and the movement inside. And of course, what's actually like to wear on the wrist. So let's get into it. To understand the Castagna, we first need to talk about the brand behind it. Furlan Marri is a relatively young, independent brand founded by Andrea Furlan and Hamad Al-Marri. Andrea Furlan isn't new to watchmaking. He previously worked with established names in the industry, including Hublot, Hermes, Chopard, and other design houses, before bringing his vision to accessible vintage-inspired chronographs to life. Hamad Al-Marri, a passionate collector from the Middle East, brought his deep appreciation for horological history and the collector's perspective. Together, they combined technical know-how with a genuine love of watch culture. They first came to prominence with their Kickstarter campaign, which instantly resonated with collectors who wanted vintage design cues without the six-figure price tag. The Castagna in particular draws inspiration from the legendary Patek Philippe chronographs, pieces like the reference 1463, also known as the Tasty Tondi, and the reference 130. You'll see those influences everywhere: the stepped lugs, the balanced dial layout, and the distinct mushroom-style pushers. But again, let me stress this. The Castagna is not pretending to be a Patek Philippe. Instead, it's a respectful nod to one of the most iconic design languages in watchmaking history. Let's start with the case. The Castagna comes at a 38mm in diameter, which is right in that sweet spot. Large enough for modern taste, but still faithful to the vintage proportions. The thickness is around 11.3mm, so it slides nicely under the cuff. And the lug-to-lug measurement is about 46mm, keeping the watch compact and wearable. The finishing here is fantastic. You get a mix of brushed and polished surfaces that catches the light beautifully. Stepped lugs are particularly elegant, with just the right amount of curve to hug the wrist. The pushers are worth mentioning too. They're the Tasty Tondi style, mushroom-shaped pushers that were a signature feature on a vintage Patek chronographs. Paired with the proportionally sized crown, the case design really nails that mid-century feel, but with modern precision in finishing. Now let's talk about the star of the show, the dial. The Castagna name comes from the rich brownish-gray sunburst finish. Depending on the light, it shifts from a light gray tone to the anthracite, giving it incredible depth and character. The applied indices are sharp and refined, with mix of Arabic numerals and button markers that balance the dial nicely. The subdials are positioned symmetrically, keeping the layout clean and easy to read. The hands are vintage-inspired. Slim, elegant, and perfectly sized for their respective tracks. The typography used on the dial is crisp, with a period-correct style that reinforces the vintage inspiration. And topping it all off, you get a domed sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, so you get the durability of a modern sapphire, but the distortion and charm of the old-school acrylic dome. Now, this is where we need to be clear. The Castagna uses a mecha quartz chronograph movement, not a full mechanical one. Specifically, it's powered by the Seiko VK64, a hybrid movement that combines a quartz base for accuracy with a mechanical chronograph module for that smooth, snappy chronograph feel. What that means in practice is you get a quartz level precision with a low maintenance, but when you start and reset the chronograph, you still feel that satisfying mechanical click and see the chronograph hand. It also keeps the watch thinner and more affordable, which was an intentional choice by Furlan Marri when they launched. For a lot of collectors, this makes the Castagna a perfect entry point into the vintage-inspired chronographs without the cost or servicing concerns of a mechanical column wheel movement. On the wrist, the Castagna feels fantastic. A 38mm with a slim profile and curved lugs. It wears almost like an original vintage chronograph. It has presence, but it doesn't shout. It's elegant, understated, and incredibly versatile. The strap that it comes with is a high-quality Italian leather, supple right out of the box, and it complements the warm tones of the dial beautifully. It's not a sports watch. You're not taking it diving or mountain climbing, but for daily wear, whenever you're dressing for a dinner or just a smart casual mode, It feels right at home. Now let's talk about the value. The Furlan Marri Castagna typically sits in the 500 to 600 range, depending on the market and availability. That's a fraction of what you pay for a mechanical chronograph of this quality and worlds apart from the six-figure prices of the vintage Patek Philippe pieces it takes inspiration from. Even when compared to the other mecha quartz chronographs on the market, the Castagna stands out. The case finishing, the detailing, the overall design execution are on another level, far above most competitors. This is where you see the difference between just another microbrand release and a thoughtfully designed collector's focus piece. So where does that leave us with a Furlan Marri Castagna? It's a watch that captures the magic of a vintage chronographs without being a copy. It respects the past while being very much a product of today. The proportions are excellent, the finishing is thoughtful, the movement choice makes it approachable and reliable. If you ever admired those iconic Patek Philippe chronographs from the 1940s and 50s, but thought I'll never be able to afford one, the Castagna gives you a taste of that design heritage in a modern, affordable package. In short, the Furlan Marri Castagna isn't just a watch. It's a celebration of watchmaking history, reimagined for a new generation of collectors. I'm a proud owner of one and it will stay with me for a long time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the review, don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment below. Would you consider adding a Furlan Marri to your collection? Anyway, have a great day and stay sharp. Stay timeless.